What's up, guys, and welcome to a special edition of Game Script. We're about to Milton Berle some Super Bowl lineups right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at Pumacom here with Heat Seeker Sports, and you're watching Game Script, joined by a very special guest today, Dean Shavelson from Roto Grinders. We're going to break down Super Bowl for DraftKings Showdown lineups. Dean, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, dude? You got me all pumped up with that intro, that music. We're doing it late at night here. This is kind of my wheelhouse now. This is sort of when I finally, I am a night person, night owl, I guess I would say. So, yeah, it's fun. It's fun to talk sports 10 o'clock in the evening on the East Coast. So my Jimmy Butler was just traded. I'm a Miami Heat fan. I know we don't want to get into that. People don't care about that, but lots of news. My group chat is all excited about Jimmy Butler, or not excited, depending on. But yeah, we're excited about the big. We could say big game. I don't know, but we'll say big game just in case the overlords are listening. It's always good to catch up, Simon.
Yeah, definitely. Dean and I have a long history together, worked at Roto Grinders together for about 5 years. And anytime I get an opportunity to get him on one of these shows is a good time, and glad to have him on. We're going to break down the Super Bowl. We're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. We got a 49.5 point total. 1.5 point favorites are the Chiefs in this one. Dean, big picture, what do you think of that total and that spread, and what's your overall thoughts on how this game might play out?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I got friends of mine or people sort of ask me. They say like, "Oh, you must be super excited about the big game. You must be pumped. This is what you do. This is what you care about." And like, I'm gonna watch the game. I'm excited to watch it. It's gonna be fun for sure. But like, there's no edges. Like everybody in the world is betting on this game. There's no edge as far as the line and the total. It's refined. It's like the Kentucky Derby. If you're a racing fan, you must be excited about the Kentucky Derby. Well, no, the edge is like the third race in Dubuque that like nobody knows a thing about. That's the edge, right? Yeah, super excited to watch the big game. I don't really have a hot take as far as Kansas City or Philly. I think it's a legit coin toss. I know you're an Eagles fan, so you're probably, I don't know, you doing head, heart? Are they in line? I'm not sure, but it should be fun. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah, let's dig in.
Yeah, I think the line is pretty good. Like, honestly, I think if anything, it would go under the total. I talked about that with Neil. I had Neil Orfield on yesterday, and you guys can check that out on the YouTube channel as well. Neil's a multi-entry guy, and we had a pretty good discussion about the game. We broke down all the players and all our favorite captains on that one too. Dean and I were kind of leaning towards maybe a single entry discussion in this one. But at the end of the day, with Showdown, even with single entry, you're still looking for that captain that's going to separate you from the field, even if you're in a small contest or whatever. But Dean, what's your strategy typically if you're doing more of a single entry or small contest?
We talked about this pre-show. Like officially, I don't consider myself to be a Showdown guy. I play a ton of DFS. I do dabble in the Showdown streets. If I do, it's mostly in the smaller field stuff. I will throw it in like the nonsense, $3, that kind of thing, and just kind of like, chip in a chair, that kind of thing. But this is not necessarily my lane. So I'm going to have some questions for you. But it also, like, there's 300,000 entries, 400,000 entries to be claimed in some of these contests. So I'm curious to hear how ambitious you're going to be with that, because I'm probably going to dip my feet in those waters, but I'm much more suited to single entry stuff. That's for DFS as well. But if I hit something, if I happen to walk into the nuts, I want to get paid in multiple angles. So
yeah.
And the other thing is, and this is my little thing, I don't know if it's yours as well. And I get why they do it, because it's fun that they could say $1 million up top. I just don't like top loaded contests that have 40% up top. It's great for the person that banks it, but everybody else is taking a big old L. I mean, it's not great for the economy, I suppose, of DFS. But that's a different conversation. But with their big $20 contest on DK, it's 20, I believe, right? Is actually only 20% up top, so it's not as horrendous as it's been in years past. So I'm probably going to be jumping in there. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it a shot if nothing else. And I'm looking forward to hearing your angles on it and lineup construction. But I think it'd probably be best at the end of the show if we kind of knock out a single entry, because that would be what I would be more suitable for.
Yeah, for sure. We can start with a single entry and, maybe get, Dean's thoughts on how to approach that one. And then after that, I'll do more of, if you're going to try to compete against, I think it's 300,000 people in that bigger one. So that $20 one is going to be, you have to try to separate yourself from 300,000 people. That's not an easy thing to do, but there's ways to do it, and there's easy ways to do it too. And we'll get into that in a second, but make sure to hit that like button, get us to 40 likes, and I'll put my favorite picks in the comment section as we get closer to lock. And make sure also to subscribe to the channel. I'm looking to get to, I said 1,800 yesterday, but I looked at my subscriber count. I'm closer to, hoping to get 1,700. So get me to 1,700 by the end of the Super Bowl. I need about 100 to get there. Dean, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe to that thing and help me get to that number. And let's get into this discussion here. I got the player pool up. Let's try to come up with a game script first by looking at these players. We can kind of take a look at the salaries and figure out who's going to fit whatever game script we come out with. But Dean, you said at the top that you think that this is a pretty straight line. We're not really going to deviate too much from it. And you think that Kansas City will win this game, or do you think the Eagles will win this game?
I think it's a legit coin toss. I think they basically got it right. I know that I'm supposed to come in here with a hot take, but I think it's basically a coin toss. Two really good defenses, some offenses that have some good pieces. Out of the Kansas City offense, I guess is that they're at the best they've been at this point in the season. It took them a while to sort of get there. They were on cruise control, if you want to say that. And I know you as a Philly fan, it was so weird as an onlooker, as somebody just kind of like Philly. You guys historically, I don't want to take shots at your fan base, but you're kind of demanding sometimes. But you hate the coach, and they won 11 games in a row. Like what? And there's this rumors about AJ Brown doesn't get along with Hurts, and they just keep winning every single game. And I think you even said before the show started, you don't like Sirianni, they're winning in spite. You didn't say it, but they're winning in spite of him. AJ Brown's on the sideline reading his books, which is amazing. I love that. It's just so strange that look around at the other teams. It could be so much worse. And Kansas City just hitting the simulation button and peaking at the right time. But I guess they were crowned earlier in the year, according to some people. That they had a warp zone pass to the Super Bowl. You got to get an extra couple million people to watch it, because otherwise normally wouldn't be, allegedly. But I don't understand. Could you answer that as an Eagles fan? Why are we still not impressed?
Well, Dean, do you remember that episode of The Simpsons where I think Mr. Burns was trying to sell the nuclear power plant, and he had to get rid of all the less intelligent employees, and he gave them a jar with a bee in it, and he put them in the basement and told them to guard the jar with the bee and not let the bee out. Well, that's like Nick Sirianni. He's basically like with Homer in the basement guarding the bee. And I think the decision making is being done basically. He does the overall decision making, but I do think that Kellen Moore has a good grasp of that offense, and I think Vic Fangio has a good grasp of that defense. And last year, when the team fell apart, it was basically the coordinators were not good last year. That was clear. The previous year, when they had the guys that both ended up becoming head coaches, those were competent coordinators, and they got to the Super Bowl, right? In that offseason, my concern, not having confidence in Sirianni, was that the Eagles were going to be underperforming that year. And they ended up, getting to the playoffs, but it was really an underperforming kind of year for them, considering their stacked roster. And when we got to the playoffs, they got eliminated in the first round. And so, I thought Sirianni was gone after that. I thought that there was no way that they were going to bring him back. He just was too controversial, says too many stupid things. He acts like a child, like when he's dealing with fans and stuff like that. He just not a very smart dude, right? And this past offseason, when I thought he was going to get let go, and they ended up instead hiring these really good coordinators, like Vic Fangio is like a dream situation, to get as your defensive coordinator with this defense, like on top of it, they got a really good defense, brought in Vic Fangio. And then on top of that, they brought in Kellen Moore, who I like as an offensive coordinator. I know he gets a lot of up and down opinions, but I'm I'm a fan of Kellen Moore, like what he did in Dallas. And so I was excited about this year because of those coordinators. Despite Nick Sirianni not getting let go and having him still on the team, and just bringing in these coordinators, I felt like that was a good move, probably by Roseman to kind of neutralize some of the bad aspects of Sirianni. I think that he does have some good aspects to him, but I think he's kind of a buffoon, though. He's just a buffoon. That's the best way.
Let me ask you this. I'm curious. Is there any part of you, and we'll dive in a second, but I don't mean to derail the conversation. Is there any part of you that's kind of afraid if Philly wins the Super Bowl, they're going to automatically sign him a 10-year deal, lock him up forever, and almost short-term good, long-term bad? Is he that? Yeah. You think Sirianni is that much of a poison, and eventually you can't keep winning in spite of him?
I think he is a poison. When you watch a lot of those sideline problems that they have with guys arguing, and Sirianni tries to get involved in it, the players get the hell out of here, man. They shoot it's like having that annoying guy in the group where everyone's like, oh God, let's get out of here. Here he comes. That's Sirianni, right? With these players, I feel like. And
isn't Dom the guy in the sidelines that takes care of everything? Isn't that their sideline guy?
Yep.
Big Dom?
Yep, Big Dom, pretty much. But yeah, Sirianni, he's just I feel like he can't possibly get the respect of the players. You saw Zach Ertz a few weeks ago, perfect example. Sirianni, after that Washington Commanders game, Zach Ertz had a bad game. Sirianni said some sort of a wise ass comment to him. And Ertz, a guy who never really loses his cool, he's like, what did you say? He got up in his face. And then, there was some strife there between those dudes. And, Ertz ended up blowing it off in the press conference afterwards. But you could tell that Sirianni did something to piss him off, right? Yeah. And, to me, that seems like the type of personality that Sirianni has. But there are some good aspects, to him, as far as a player perspective, when he was trying to get Saquon, the single game record, and he's like, hey man, you want to keep playing? Let's get you the record. And then Saquon was like, no, let the young dudes do it. That type of stuff.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That type of stuff kind of redeems him a little bit. But, at the end of the day, I'm just not a fan of his, and I haven't been a fan of his ever. He's just always seemed like a goofball to me. And I thought he was going to be gone last year, but as long as they keep winning, just, keep him with the jar, man. Keep him guarding that jar.
I was reading, you mentioned Vic Fangio, and shout out to Rich Rebar, Sharp Football Analysis. I was reading his article, and he was talking about Mahomes being 8-0 against Fangio historically. I guess that's against Denver and maybe against Miami as well. But he did kind of keep him in check for what it's worth. He's done a pretty good job. I guess maybe just the offenses weren't clicking for whatever reason, but Vic Fangio has done a pretty good job as much as you can against Mahomes. Do you have are the Eagles winning, or you just kind of you don't know, coin toss? It's if anybody says with confidence, full confidence, yeah, I kind of don't believe you. You can have an opinion, You could be like 60-40, but I can't imagine having full confidence.
I'm confident that the Eagles can win this game, and I think my main reason why I believe that is, some of the stuff that I've heard, like Warren Sharp and Rich Rebar saying recently. Like a lot of my research that I do, like they're, like reading Rich's article on a weekly basis is a big part of the research that I do, because he takes care of so many stats in that article. It's just such a good article,
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to I did a show with him and John Daigle, the two of them, so from ETR weekly. So I just sit back and ask questions on that show. It's amazing. It's a great time. Love working with those two, and two of the sharper people in the football world, obviously. But so I ran some sim stuff. I ran some optimal stuff. I'm just kind of sort of curious where things are being spit out. I guess one of the biggest decisions are. Well, let me ask you this: do you like force 4-2s, 5-1s? Do you let the chips where they fall? Do you put in rules? I don't like the idea of putting in too many rules for a single game, because you see some weird stuff, especially if you're running things for like 400,000 competitors, 400,000 lineups. You don't want to like box yourself out with such things. So you're not doing any of that. You're not saying, well, I got to get a 5-1. If you're running 200 or 150, I guess if you want to like make 20 with, well, let's make 25-1 KC, 25-1 Philly, and kind of, I guess you can kind of like split those off. I was thinking about doing something like that, but then you're just sort of like, you're not even being over the field in any particular angle. Maybe if you take a stand, it's like, well, if this person and this person do good, and if this person I'm going to be clearly under, or maybe just flat out fade, then all of a sudden we're in business because we have angles. So I'm curious if that's your approach. Are you going to take a bold stand? Are you going to try to get like, different pieces and just hopefully you can get the right combo, or are you still kind of figuring this all out?
Still figuring it out. Like, I know I'm going to be playing more lineups than I normally do. So I'm going to be doing, probably 50 to 100 lineups, like on this one. And, my strategy, if I'm going with 5 or less lineups, I pick a direction and I stick with it. Like I take a hard stand. And the reason why I do that is because if you spread yourself too thin with 5 lineups, if it goes in one direction that's close to where you're at, you're not going to have enough combos there to cover your bases for the most part. And if you do, then it's likely to be, like a win where you're getting like a 200 person chop or something like that. Because it's probably going to be a lineup that a lot of people also came to that conclusion. I think when you go with the direction and you stick with it, the perfect example is that game we were talking about at the top of the show, Kansas City versus Tampa Bay. That's the one where I almost got my big hit. The reason why I almost got that hit is because the direction I went in, I had committed to DeAndre Hopkins as the captain, right? I did 5 lineups with DeAndre Hopkins at the captain. I knew he was going to be 6% owned in the captain. And if he hit, then I would have 5 shots at, like nailing that week, right? And when you narrow it down to a captain that you're sticking with, there are several different combinations. Like if you're doing correlation, like if you have a belief that, okay, I got DeAndre Hopkins in there, so I want to get Patrick Mahomes in there, right? Because Hopkins is the type of guy that's going to need volume, and Mahomes will and volume and touchdowns. And Mahomes is the type of guy, if he throws a few touchdowns, that's going to put him in the optimal lineup. At the time, that wasn't like a guarantee, because Mahomes was struggling to get over 20 DraftKings points for most of the season, right? So
yeah,
I had Mahomes in there. I faded Baker, and I faded Baker, so I wanted to go with one of the running backs. So I put in Rachaad White because like the salary constraints just kind of like led to that. I had Kelce in my lineup as well, because Kelce against Tampa Bay was like guaranteed volume and guaranteed PPR points. So I had Hopkins, Kelce and Mahomes locked in. I knew I wanted a running back on Tampa Bay, so I put in like White, and so I had basically a core locked in. So then from that point, it was just a matter of rotating guys with the other 5 lineups. And one of the guys that I happened to rotate in was Samaje Perine. And I had Perine in my lineup. I was not expecting him to be 2% owned, and he ended up being 2% owned. So when he scored a touchdown in that game, even though I was competing against, like something like 100,000 people, and I only had 5 lineups, Samaje Perine scoring that touchdown put me ahead in first place by about 6 or 7 points. And I was ahead in first place all the way from the end of the third quarter up until the last play of overtime, which is what it took for like the people behind me to catch up and overtake me, but just having that tight core and rotating a few guys out in about 5 lineups, like when you're doing that with a 6 lineup, that's the if your core hits, especially if you have a low owned captain. DeAndre Hopkins that week was like 6%, something like that, and ended up paying off. If you can hit that captain in a tight core with like a few lineups, then you can be a competitor in a game, a contest where we're seeing like 300,000 people in this contest.
I'm a hypocrite, by the way, but I think you're not supposed to look at your currently live winning on Showdown until like the last 2 minutes. Now I will, but you're probably not supposed to for those reasons. It's just flat out torture if it goes the other direction. I don't want to know if I was like in the number in like the pole position, if I was in the 1 spot and I fell back and all of a sudden I'm like 2xing when after one or 2 goofy plays. But that's the life of this is what you signed up for. This is you signed up for Showdown. That's what it is. I'm looking at like ownership projection stuff as far as captain, and I think it's pretty interesting because it's really flat. I'm not sure if you've looked at how much you've looked at this, but both quarterbacks, Mahomes, Hurts, as far as ownership are 1-2, but 14%, 12%. And this stuff is fluid; it might change, but I assume this is kind of sort of where it's going to be. Like there's not much else as far as news coming in. Barkley 11%, Brown 10%. So Mahomes to Brown, all like 14 to 10%, super flat. And then Worthy 9, Kelce 8, Goedert 8, Smith 6. That's like our gap. But like there's a lot of potential captain options. And if you're running 50 or 100 lineups, do you get 10 of Mahomes, 10 of Hurts, 10 of Barkley, or do we say these are my 3 like you said with Hopkins, these are my 2 or 3 captains. I ride or die with these guys, and then it opens me up to more possible combinations.
This is going to be a more difficult situation than that week was, because it was like DeAndre Hopkins was new to the team. He was going overlooked, and I felt like he had an opportunity in a good matchup, to score a touchdown or 2, right? And he was cheap. This is a different situation because, like you said, Dean, we're talking about a flat situation when it comes to some of this ownership. I got the Dean. You were reading off of Rotogrinder's ownership, I take it, right?
I was, yeah.
Do
you have something different?
Yeah. Well, no, I got that screen up now.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and other places I've seen like AJ Brown like a little less owned, but for the most part, like this seems pretty much on par with what I've seen. Like Mahomes as the highest owned guy, which to me is a little bit surprising because it's a really bad matchup. It's an easy fade for me, like for Mahomes in the captain spot.
And you said
Jalen Hurts.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Not to cut you off.
No,
you said earlier
you
you talked about how like he hasn't really had many peak games this year. Like he's a good floor guy if you're playing cash games in the Super Bowl, right? Big game. And like, sure, he runs a little bit more in the playoffs, and this game is expected to be closer. So maybe, we're forced to pass a little bit more.
Right.
But like he doesn't, I feel the same way. Like I'm going to probably have a lot of them in the flex and the utility because he probably is somebody you need. I shouldn't say probably, but 50% chance maybe somebody you should, that's going to be in the optimal lineup. We have these things to kind of look at as well. But I think I agree with you. I don't think I'm going to have him. And he's also he costs money, and that's part of the deal. He costs you a hit on one of your utility players, one of your flex spots. So I think I'm going to be under that 15% if he's the most popular guy, and that's where we're at right now. Right. Not that 15 is a monster number, but what does he have to do for you to like absolutely need him in captain? And is he going to get there? I don't know. Yeah. Like Xavier Worthy can like have 4 catches for 115 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns, whatever. And he's he could be the guy that of course Barkley for sure can break a 70-yarder off, and that's hard to catch if you assume everything else is pretty standard the rest of the game. But I'm going to be under that. I think these are always subject to change, but you're kind of talking about it. If that's the case, I think I'm going to be under Mahomes in captain.
Yeah, I think so. The reason why I think he's an easy fade, going back to what like Rich Rebar and Warren Sharp have been talking about like this week. One of the things that they've been talking about with Vic Fangio is, Mahomes is 8-0 versus Vic Fangio. But if you look closer at the numbers, the games where, he's played Vic Fangio, when they get to the red zone, they have something like a, 37, 38% conversion rate. When they face other teams, they have a like a 65% conversion rate or something like that. So they're much less successful in the red zone against Vic Fangio teams than they are against the field in general. So Vic Fangio has played them well as far as preventing Patrick Mahomes from scoring. Patrick Mahomes, if you look at the history, I'll go to his history versus Denver. If you look at his history,
you have that ready to go.
Yeah, Fangio was the head coach from 2019 to 2021, right? So if you look at Mahomes, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown. He's only had 2 weeks against Fangio where he scored, where he threw 2 touchdown passes, right? For the most part, it's been less than 2 touchdown passes.
There's a game against Miami that not too long ago, and
right.
I don't know if that's worth pulling up, but similar, he was not incredible. He didn't have like a ceiling game against Miami.
Right. Yeah. He did poorly against Miami as well. Actually, I'll call that up too since I'm here. But he has had struggles against Fangio's defenses. So he had 1 touchdown and then another game with 2 touchdowns. So historically, he hasn't thrown more than 2 touchdowns against Fangio. But this is also probably the best defense and offense combo that Fangio has, been a part of against Mahomes, right? Like this defense that he has right now is just, it's incredible. And Patrick Mahomes' offense is probably the weakest offense that he's ever, faced Fangio with, apart from last year against Miami, but they were playing in that super cold game. And, Tua, notoriously bad in cold weather games. But with Fangio, another thing with this Eagles defense is they are the number 1 defense defending passes at or behind the line of scrimmage. And the Chiefs are throwing those types of passes at I think a 27% clip, which is, the most in the NFL. Basically, a third of their passes are at or behind the line of scrimmage. In the playoffs so far, they've only thrown, I think, like 7 passes beyond 10 yards. So when they're facing the Eagles and they can't do the at or behind the line of scrimmage, the pivot, what's the pivot? Like to throw deep? Like the Eagles are a bend but don't break defense, and they defend the deep ball very well. So it leaves him with no real options except for the intermediate part of the field, which is Kelce. And like they're going to have a plan for Kelce. So, I think that this defense is going to be able to slow Mahomes down. They don't have a running game. They've always had a running game, but their run game is not that great. But I think that they might have to lean on the run game because Nakobe Dean is going to be out on the Eagles defense, and he had a like a PFF grade of like 83, and so he was really good at stopping the run, defending the run. And that's basically the only weak spot in this Eagles defense. The Eagles used to be weak against slot receivers, but then they moved Cooper DeJean into the slot defending role. And ever since they plugged that hole, the team has been, like lights out, like with the defense. They haven't had any real weak spots. And the thing with these Fangio defenses is it takes several weeks for the team to acclimate to it. And, once the team started to acclimate to this defense, they got like they've been unstoppable on the defense. They've been a very, very good defensive team, and they've just gotten better like every week that they play. And, we've seen it in the playoffs too against Washington. Against Green Bay, really the offense was a problem versus Green Bay because they took that early lead, but they let Green Bay hang around because the offense wasn't scoring any more points. Like they let Green Bay hang in that game, and it was a little bit like nerve-wracking. Against the Rams, kind of the same deal, like because the Rams were down by 2 touchdowns towards the end of the game, and it felt like the game was over. But then they let the Rams score a quick touchdown, and that was concerning. Then the Rams were driving on that final drive, but the defense just came through on that final drive and ended up like putting that game to rest. But I do think that with Patrick Mahomes, this version of the offense, they're starting to come around, but it might be too late for them to start clicking for them to have an impact against this defense. But what are your thoughts there, Dean? What are your thoughts on the upside of Kansas City?
Yeah, like I just think Kansas City is going to find a way because they're Kansas City, and despite all the defense, the daunting defense, and all the numbers that for Mahomes, I just blows up on the fly. It doesn't include sample size, so it includes like every quarterback looks like they threw a pass this season. Fantasy pros, let's say air yards per attempt, how far passes traveled in the air before being caught. And again, this includes every quarterback I think that's thrown a pass this season. Mahomes is 56th at 3.4. Just everything has like been short, right? And we haven't seen a lot of long passes for touchdowns this season for KC. And like you said, it's not necessarily the matchup. Now they also were without Hollywood, and that's kind of his MO for a good chunk of the season. And he's had opportunities. And I think he's an interesting play because you just need one play, right? Even though it's not on paper, even that's not traditionally against Philly, doesn't mean you can't. Like just because Philly's been good against it doesn't mean you can't actually connect on like a 70-yard touchdown pass. It's possible. But it just hasn't been the route that's burned them so much this season. But for tournaments, of course, I mean, I'm fine cycling through these low floor guys, but I was looking at the total. It was a 49, and it's like I feel like this game could be, 2017, and I feel like it could be 35, 32, something like that. I don't know how we get to 32. They got to 4 touchdowns, and they went for 2 4 times. But I don't really know. And the 2 teams that play in the cold, that play outdoors, now they're indoors, and no more elements. And by the way, you said something else that maybe have a question. You were talking about how Philly does a pretty good job, or has done a pretty good job subduing Mahomes as far as bend but don't break, not allowing touchdowns. Does that mean Butker is interesting? Because I was thinking both these teams might more so than years past. These teams more so than others would be more incentivized to possibly just go for it in 4th down. And that's become more of a thing. Like you remember back in the day, like if a team went for it on like the 50-yard line, it was like 4th and 1. Like Phil Simmons would completely lose his shit in the booth. Like, oh my, whoa, how are they? They're not. Look at this team. Look at the balls. Look at the sack on this coach. And like now it's just like, yeah, you're supposed to go for it because math, you know?
Right.
So I'm curious, do you like Butker?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the ceiling of kickers, and this game could certainly be, 2014, three field goals or Butker. Indoors makes the kicks easier. How aggressive do we think Reed's going to be on fourth down? And I guess it's all situational dependent, but not to sort of bring kickers in, but I was just sort of thinking about that out loud because it's like a push-pull of, I think these teams, if it's a 50-50 call, they're going to go for it. It's, more likely than not, they're going to go for it. But, if they're on the 20-yard line and it's 4th and 12, okay, then all of a sudden you're kicking the field goal. So do you have a thought on that? I know I'm derailing the conversation, but that was something that kind of popped up in my head when you were talking about bend but don't break.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right, because like one of the things that I like to do as far as targeting kickers in showdown slates is I look for the matchups where you have a offense that I know is going to be able to move the ball, which is the Chiefs. They're bend but don't break. They're going to be able to move the ball down the field, but it's the red zone is where they're going to have their struggles. And if I know that a team is going to be able to move the ball, but maybe struggle in the red zone, I don't see Reed going for it all that often. I think that they're going to go with field goals, and I think that Butker is a great play on this slate. I think he's probably one of my favorite plays on the slate. Because, if it plays out the way that I think it's going to play and they're scoring field goals instead of touchdowns, then that's going to, be a big day for Butker, I think.
Yeah. And that also kind of brings in defenses. And like, I know historically, or generally speaking, like people don't like, it's not fun to roster defenses. And like, if you suck out in the defense, like you're just, you just got lucky, it's a random. Oh, geez, I'm gonna turn my phone off. My apologies. But I thought I had my phone muted, but I forgot that it was linked up to my laptop. So again, my
apologies. You hate that? Like I hate that my phone automatically links up to my laptop. It took me forever to figure out how to turn that off. So annoying. This is why
you shouldn't buy all Apple products, is what you're saying, right? It's discouraging people. It's the exact opposite. Yeah, so we were talking about the defenses. Yeah, so I generally when I hand build, I usually don't like to play defenses, especially like and everything is sort of dependent upon the game. When there's like 35, 37 totals, all of a sudden defenses become chalky, and it's like they're kind of worthless unless you get the touchdown, which when you predict the touchdown, not really, and Philly's going to run the ball a lot. These teams haven't been turning the ball over a lot. And again, just takes one play. So I'm probably going to be under, although they are two good defensive units. Are you somebody that you have like a general rule? I don't like general rules for Showdown. Like general rules is like chaos, right? You're supposed to embrace the chaos. And we're talking large field stuff, at least.
When it comes to a low scoring game, like having a defense and a kicker in the same lineup, I don't mind that as much because the bar is going to be set low for, the amount of points that these players are scoring. If they're held in check with scoring touchdowns or whatever. So I think it makes more sense in a low scoring game script to put a kicker and a defense in. And I also think that, taking an approach like that, where you might be projecting a low scoring game in the Super Bowl, nobody's going to want to play that, because it's boring. Like people want to see scoring in the Super Bowl. And, think about it like a couple years back when it was the Rams versus the Patriots, right? Taking an approach in Showdown that where you had, like the Patriots kicker as your captain, and then you played, like maybe both defenses or something like that. Like you would have been, like set to win that showdown, if you had like one lineup or something. It depends on your game script that you're projecting. And a lot of times, people are going to look at, patterns with these teams, not taking into consideration that they've had 2 weeks to basically come up with any wrinkle that they can to be different than they've been for the past, like 20 weeks or whatever. So people don't take that into account a lot. And I think that goes to these Chiefs where we're talking about, okay, the Eagles are the top defense at defending lines at or behind the line of scrimmage. So what if the Chiefs come out with an approach? Okay, we got Hollywood back. Hollywood's been back with us for a few weeks now. He's had time to acclimate to the offense. At the beginning of the season, we were planning on Hollywood being, like the centerpiece of our offense. He's been back for a few weeks now. He's healthy. He's had time to develop some sort of a chemistry with Patrick Mahomes. Maybe now is time where we take advantage of our speed with Worthy and Hollywood and really attack that secondary of the Eagles. Because at the end of the day, as good as the Eagles secondary is, we're talking about a couple of rookie corners.
Make them prove it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So if I was Andy Reid, that would be the approach that I would try to take in this game, because you got the intermediate part of the field. You're going to have success in the intermediate part of the field with Kelce, because like that's probably the the soft spot in that defense, right? Especially with Nakobe Dean gone, they don't have that extra that extra linebacker back there, good linebacker. So I just think that it's going to be a situation where they're going to have that weak spot in the defense, so they'll be able to throw to Kelce, and I think that opens things up a little bit out wide. And so if the Chiefs are going to attack the Eagles, I think that would probably be the best way to do it. And if I was taking that approach, Hollywood Brown would be my captain.
Yeah, and if you play Hollywood, let's see. By the way, fun fact about Hollywood Brown. You want a fun fact about Hollywood Brown?
Yep.
You think his name is Hollywood because it's actually his name is Marquise, right? But they call him Hollywood because he's like flashy and he's a receiver, and maybe that's the reason why. Maybe that is. I never got a full clarification of this. But what if I told you he was born in Florida?
Yeah.
What city in Florida was he born in?
Come on, Dean. That's like 4 years old, man.
Well, it's right down the road for me, so I wasn't sure. Did you know this? Okay, hold on. Did you know that Tony Gonzalez? This is going to blow your mind. He played basketball in college. Did you know that?
Yes. He kind of started that whole like tight end basketball player thing, like with Antonio Gates. Like
also was he a basketball guy too?
Antonio Gates?
No. I said Shock. Is it Shock? No, there's somebody else that was a basketball guy.
Yeah,
another tight end. I'm just obviously you knew about that. Everybody,
right.
Like, could you imagine? He did both. He played both sports. The Hollywood thing, I thought you knew too. I was just trying to sell it.
It was a good sell though, man. Like for if like I didn't know what was coming, if I was watching the show and I wasn't aware, then like I'd be intrigued.
Sorry, the big letdown. Interested? Not interested. Well, it's a big whimper there at the end. If we throw Hollywood, by the way, in the captain spot, we got 8-3 to play with. You basically have to. I don't want to say have to, but you're probably going to play Mahomes. The world is pretty opened up. You can it almost turns into a pick'em, but then you got to be cautious about that because you don't let's just not play what everybody else is going to do. Right. You mentioned this, by the way, as far as nobody wants to watch 13-3, the Patriots-Rams game, which was completely miserable. That was the worst Super Bowl. Are we going to get a ton of casuals? Do casuals still play DFS? Because I'm not sure. I'm in the DFS streets, but I'm in the bubble. I'm in the bubble with the lifers, the grinders, right? Are all the casuals just sports betting now? Is it? Yeah.
Here's what I think, dude. Like, I think that there's DFS players that like playing Showdown, and there's DFS players that hate playing Showdown. But the DFS players that hate playing Showdown are the casuals for Showdown.
That's me, kind of, sort of. Yeah.
There you go.
But I don't want to be that. I recognize what the casual is, and I don't want to be that guy.
Well, that's why you're on this show, Dean.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn from you, and bounce some ideas back and forth.
Okay, so here's my thinking. If we got Mahomes in the lineup, it's going to take more than Brown to justify having this $10,000 salary in our lineup when we got guys like Hurts and Barkley. We're going to have to fade Hurts or Barkley, right? So for Mahomes to be in this lineup, we're going to have to get him a second weapon. And that's either going to be Kelce or Worthy, who are going to be, like the guys that are most reliable for Mahomes. If you wanted to play Kelce or Worthy, which way would you lean?
Worthy's sexier, right? I think Worthy is. I think he's a sexier play. You get the bonus, like he's going to get some rushes. He can break one off like a la carte. He doesn't need Pat Mahomes. But like the way you kind of illustrated before, just the way the defense lines up, it sets up pretty good for a Kelce spot against Philly. Right. Like if the deep stuff's not going to be working, and if the short stuff's not going to be working, Kelce as the intermediate targets. But I want to play Worthy, and I think we haven't talked about like the dumpster diving stuff. Mm-hmm. I think Gray is one of my favorite dumpster dive spots on the entire board. We've seen him have games. We've seen like he's kind of the heir apparent to obviously I'm not saying he's Kelce, but he's not nearly the price of Kelce either. But I'm interested in Gray as a way to get cheap. And I'm trying to think. I plugged in. Let's see. We got Brown with Mahomes with Worthy. Haven't decided on Barkley or Hurts, but if you put Hurts in there,
so
can we do triples? Are you okay with a Mahomes triple with Brown and the captain? Like I'm talking Mahomes, Brown captain, and then Mahomes as the as a utility flex, and then with Gray who's cheap, and then Worthy who doesn't necessarily need Mahomes because again he can run something in, and then you compare Hurts and Brown. You got 1,100 left over. This is the first lineup I built, and I kind of like it. Is it okay to play 3 receivers for Kansas City when Mahomes is not in the captain? I think we can.
I think you can, but the thing with putting Gray in there, 2,800, he's going to need a touchdown, right? Gray's going to need a touchdown. If he gets a touchdown, that takes a touchdown potential away from. Let's say that Mahomes throws 2 touchdowns in this game. He meets his average for Fangio.
Okay.
We're probably going to want maybe both those touchdowns going to Brown, and then Worthy is getting like the volume, the PPR volume. That's how I would envision this. But I don't mind playing Gray, and maybe Gray gets a touchdown and Brown gets like more receptions. But like for Brown to separate himself from Worthy, I think it's going to take either doesn't or Brown. Yeah, we could put Gray in there. Like I don't mind putting Gray in there. And you said you put Gray in there.
He's not going to get there with volume. Like you're right. He probably needs a touchdown. And again, or it could just be like a 17 to 20 game where for 3 for 45, which is kind of an outlier, is good enough, right?
Yeah. I think another good thing about this build that you've come up here with, Dean, is you could swap out Worthy for Kelce. So if you were doing the strategy like I was talking about earlier, if you want to enter 5 lineups,
cycle through,
and you wanted a Hollywood Brown captain lineup, and you had Worthy in there, you could swap them out for Kelce and still get the volume guy in your lineup. And now, if you look at the history of Kansas City in the Super Bowl, they throw touchdowns to random guys. Like last year, it was McCall Hardman and MVS, 2 guys that had not been involved in the offense throughout the majority of the season. The prior year, it was Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, 2 guys who were not heavily involved in the Chiefs offense. But you looked at like last week, think of that pass that they had to Samaje Perine against the Bills, and they did it with such ease because they caught the Bills defense completely off guard. That's what the Chiefs like to do. They like to catch these defenses off guard, and they're going to need to do that with Philly. And the way that they're going to do that is they're going to, in a high leverage situation, pass to a guy that nobody's expecting to get the ball. And I think that those guys are going to be like Noah Gray, like Dean said. I think Samaje Perine is in play to be one of those guys. And I think that, like Justin Watson, another potential guy, and Noah Gray, another potential guy. So if you're rotating guys out, maybe you want to lock in Kelce, you want to lock in Worthy, rotate out those guys, because basically on the Eagles side, we know where the ball is going. It's going to be a very condensed offense. So we want to get our, like our variation from the Chiefs guys. And I think the best spot to get that variation, if we're thinking that Hollywood Brown is going to be captain and Kelce we want for the volume, those guys that are going to have the most variance are going to be these cheap guys that have the potential to be that guy that gets the random touchdown on the Chiefs.
Well, I was just kind of messing around with the build we had there, and with the basic, the same core, Brown as the captain, and Mahomes and Hurts. But if you flip it around a little bit, instead of AJ Brown, you can get the Barkley, and instead of Kelce or not Kelce, but Worthy, you can go to Smith, and then Juju Smith-Schuster is right there. You have $100 left over. I don't know how chalky that is, but that looks kind of interesting as well. 3-3, it's balanced. There's no running backs outside of Barkley. But yeah, Brown, and then you got Mahomes with 2 receivers, and neither are like 1 or 2, right? It's with Brown and Juju. And then as far as, you got Hurts with Barkley and Smith. You got 3 out of the 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have Brown, obviously, and there's Goedert, but, who's fine. But I think you're probably going to be fine if you don't have Goedert, I think.
Right.
Just kind of, but like, it's sort of the same idea. You sort of building off of a premise, and then just like swap, like do like 1v1s and 2v2s with a similar core. I don't mind that.
If we swap Goedert in, that opens things a little bit. You got Gray as an option if you swap Goedert in, but I do like I like Smith this week. I think that Smith might go overlooked, and the Chiefs have allowed 9 touchdowns to slot receivers this season. So they're going to be, like that's going to be a vulnerability for them. But yeah, that 2,100, like Dean said, like if you put Smith-Schuster in there, you're kind of zeroing out your salary. You got $100 left at that point.
Yeah.
One thing that I would consider is putting in Perine. Like doing a rotation there, doing a lineup variation with Perine in that last spot, leaving salary on the table, and Watson. Because I think that, like I said, they trusted Perine. If we wanted to rotate out these guys, like this is a good core build. We got a pretty good core build right here. Like even though it's 5 people, like that's a big core. But like for our last spot, we could put Smith-Schuster will probably be the higher owned guy of these, but he's also, probably the safest. But if we put Perine in there, we saw him against Buffalo last week, right? They trusted him in that high leverage spot to seal the game. Like they trust Perine. I would not be surprised if they're in the red zone. They've had these struggles against Fangio in the red zone. So they got Perine. They think the touchdown's going to go to Kelce, and then Perine leaks out, and then boom, they hit him in stride for a touchdown, and get the unexpected guy involved for a touchdown in that high leverage spot, like they kind of tend to do in these big games.
I'm looking at, and this is what we're talking about. I'm looking at the RotoGrinders like median projections for receptions. Juju Smith-Schuster median projection 1.65 catches. Gray 1.58. Perine 1.36. I guess he can run the ball. Yeah. Does he ever run the ball? What is his rushing attempts? 0.85. This is what we're talking about. Like you just need one outlier play to get to there. I don't know what to do with Kansas City's running backs, because all season long, I was just like, well, at some point, Pacheco is going to take over Hunt. Like that has to happen. And, obviously you got Hurts, and they kept winning with Hunt, and why not run Hunt into the ground during the regular season when they're essentially coasting? Smart move. Good job. Save Pacheco for the playoffs, right? Yeah, that's their best guy. Let's save him when it matters most. And Pacheco hasn't really unseated him. He seems to still be well behind. Even our rushing attempts, we're projecting about 10 for Hunt, 5 for Pacheco. Do you think that's it is what it is, right? At this point, we're trying to make it, I guess. And who wants to play Kareem Hunt? It's the most unsexy thing to like, oh, we're going to get a couple. And he seems to be the goal line guy. Now, I know historically.
That's what I like about him.
Yeah. I mean, he's terribly unsexy, but
right,
he can sneak in twice. He can sneak in that box 2 times.
Yep.
I know Casey likes to do their goofy things. Reed likes to do his weird stuff where he's bored at the goal line and like tight end, reverses and the pitch to he likes to just mix things up. But why can't Kareem Hunt be something? We haven't really talked about it.
I hope they try that ring around the rosy play against the Eagles, man. I'd love to see Jalen Carter just blow that up. But no, I think that like the running back situation is going to be interesting because like we've been talking about, Nakobe Dean on IR, the defense is going to have some struggles against the running backs. Not struggles against the running backs, but I think that it's a spot where the Chiefs might decide to attack, knowing that it's going to be difficult to throw at or behind the line of scrimmage and everything like that. You got a guy with a PFF grade of 83 against the run that's out. Don't be surprised if you see some usage from these running backs, because they're going to play that game that the Chiefs like to play, man. They hold on to the ball. They have long drives. The reason why they throw at or behind the line of scrimmage, like Patrick Mahomes is getting rid of the ball, I think under 2 seconds at the highest rate in the league. It's the exact opposite of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, by the way, is like the slowest guy to get rid of the ball, and I thought he takes a lot of sacks because of that. So it's kind of like opposite ends on these quarterbacks. I do think that Mahomes is probably going to get a lot of opportunity to rush the ball too, potentially in this game. So don't be surprised if we see that kind of fits in with this lineup build as well. I think this is a good direction to go if you want to go with like a Brown type of captain, Dean. But do you want to try it like with someone else in the captain? Is there a guy that you like to try out in the captain spot?
Yeah, I was thinking about Worthy or possibly Hunt. And again, how unsexy Hunt is. But I did run the tool at RG, the Sid Labs tool, and I was curious what captains would I get. I ran 100. This is for large field. Like you can sort of set it if you want it for a small field. I ran it for a large field, and it gave me 23% Mahomes, which I was a little surprised about. That's the most it gave me. 15% Hurts, 13% Worthy, 12% Brown, 9% Kelce. But it gave me 4% Hollywood for what it's worth and 4% for the Devonta. But 1% Hunt, 1% Pacheco does not like the running game for Kansas City. Very clearly. 1% Bucker as well for what it's worth. And just the other thing that was noteworthy is that 6% Barkley, which I thought, because Barkley can be the top guy, raw points by like 10 if things go his way. If he breaks off, a 70, 80 yarder. Now you can't really assume that's going to happen, but certainly that is something that is in play. But I want to say Worthy's the one. Like, how do we make this work with Worthy instead of Brown? And the problem is, I think Worthy's going to be kind of popular. I shouldn't say popular is relative, but we have him at as far as captain, around 10%, I believe. And then you're probably going to play him with Mahomes. So then all of a sudden, I don't want to build the same thing everybody else is building with him. We got him at 9%, which is right there with Brown, basically, and right ahead of Kelce.
I think. Oh, sorry, Dean. I was going to say, I think that we could have Worthy in the captain without Mahomes. And the reason I think that is because Worthy has become one of these volume guys on Kansas City. And, like if Mahomes is only going to throw 1 touchdown in this game, at his salary, that's not going to be enough to get him in the optimal with Hurts and Barkley, in the same player pool. So I think that we could have Worthy in the captain spot. Everybody's going to want to play Mahomes that plays Worthy. So I think you get a little bit different by maybe going with an Eagles heavy build with Worthy in the captain. And this is something where we might be able to put in our Butker play, because they're throwing it at a high clip to Worthy. He's getting a lot of receptions, earning a lot of PPR points. Maybe he scores a touchdown, but then for the most part, they're getting shut down in the red zone. That sets up Butker to score his field goals, right? On the other side, if we're fading Mahomes, then we got to have Barkley or Hurts in this lineup. Maybe both, but who do you prefer, Barkley or Hurts?
Yeah, I was just kind of messing around, and I got them both actually.
Okay.
I think I do prefer Hurts, but I on the what you're doing right now, Worthy in the captain spot, Butker. I did go back. I circled back on Noah Gray, so not spending a lot of money on Kansas City, and just kind of getting leaning into the how condensed Philly is, and just paying up in 3 spots for Philly: Hurts, Barkley, and Smith.
Yeah.
I
like
and
that. Yep.
Yeah, so like Worthy is not cheap, but 2 cheapies on KC. Hopefully variance is on your side for those two. And then, you're going to get a big chunk of that Philly offense outside of Brown and Goedert with Hurts, Smith, and Barkley, and possibly maybe capture all the touchdowns is the hope.
Yeah. Yep. I think another way that we could play this, so let's say, we got Worthy in the captain, so they're getting to the red zone a lot. We got Butker, mopping up where they're failing. But what if we have like Hunt in this one too, to kind of justify not having Mahomes in this lineup? That's going to leave us with 4,200.
I was trying that, and I couldn't make it work. But it's funny, we had the same thought. So instead of Gray, you put in Hunt. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like instead of Gray, we have Hunt. But I mean, like that leaves us with one of these defenses. This is what we were talking about earlier. Like if we think it's going to be a low-scoring game, Hurts and Barkley would be good floor plays. Worthy would be a good PPR volume guy. Butker, collecting those field goals. Hunt maybe gets a touchdown. And then, if Worthy has a Captain Worthy score with PPR, it means it's likely there's not a lot of scoring in this game.
Well, Captain Worthy is scoring is relative. Like there's no other games going on. You just gotta in the world of this game that may be uneventful. Like we can't force it to be a shootout. As much fun as that would be. Yeah. I see where you're going. You kind of pairing Butker with the Chiefs defense, and you get the 2 best players on Philly, or Hurts and Barkley. A 4-2 with Worthy up top. I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, because
if this thing wins, the game was probably not great.
So those games against Fangio, the defense is completely uncorrelated to the defense on the other team, but the Chiefs defense scored a decent amount of points, a decent amount of touchdowns in those games versus Fangio teams as well. Just to give you there's no correlation there, but just to give you an idea of how potentially the Chiefs could pull out a win. They could get a touchdown from their defense, or they could have a lot of sacks against Hurts, and that's why none of these receivers are in here with Hurts. Hurts is just trying to run the ball whenever he gets a chance to. But I do think that Chiefs defense makes sense in this spot as well. If we wanted to take out Hurts, and let's say we did put in Mahomes in this lineup.
You can plug in Mahomes if you want to, and just have a Barkley a la carte.
Yep, and that leaves us with Hopkins. It puts Hopkins in play. So, I don't mind this build. It'd be a 5-1 build, but we got Barkley as our 1. So, don't necessarily hate it. I don't think there's going to be a lot of 5-1 builds in the Super Bowl. I don't think that. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of lineups that don't have at least one of these quarterbacks. So if you wanted to try to play around with that, and maybe we get Brown getting a lot of PPR points but no touchdowns, or Smith, I think that makes sense. Like if you put Smith in there, yeah, no, it doesn't really benefit us to put Smith in there because it puts us in that spot where there's nothing but those backup quarterbacks. If we put Brown in there, Brown makes more sense. At that point, you could go double kicker. You could put Hopkins in there. You could put one of these defenses. This is a low scoring, type of lineup here.
Yeah. I'm wondering who is your most ambitious, like very possibly going to a goose egg play that you're like in your pool. I mean, how much are we getting to? Like, is Calcaterra somebody you'd ever consider?
No.
If you're okay, is Dotson? I think Dotson's somebody that should be at least in the pool. Like he's on the field, but he's never throw the ball to him.
Right.
To the old exercising. Shout out Rebar. Gainwell, it's hard to see, but I guess he should be. He gets enough plays, right? I guess Justin Watson's $600. I guess he's the guy that I'm willing to roster him.
Yep.
Not happy about it. Probably gets a 0. But if
we're dumpster diving, the guys I have interest in are like Noah Gray, Smith Schuster, P. Ryan, Watson.
I had some best ball shares of that Johnny Wilson. He's like 6'9" or something.
Yeah,
like, this guy, just throw it up to him. He's not 6'9", but he's tall. I guess I'm probably not going to play him, but
the Eagles are frustrating when you're trying to find value in Showdown because they literally never pass it or give any of these other guys opportunities. It's always that core. Even when Goedert was out, they'll just pass it more to Smith. Like they don't go to these other guys, like it's just very rare. Sometimes, I think there was like one time where Calcaterra caught a touchdown. But for the most part, they avoid like these ancillary players. Even Dotson. I thought Dotson, I was a little bit hopeful that Dotson might do something like, but you look at his game line.
It's got to be. It's not ridiculous.
The week 18 is the only game that he had a big week, and that was when the starters were sitting. Yeah. So I just don't see it like with these Eagles ancillary plays. Makes a lot more sense to use these Chiefs guys because these Chiefs guys are still going to come in low owned. Like P. Ryan is still going to come in low owned. I bet you Dotson will be higher owned than like P. Ryan and Watson and P. Ryan have a much bigger chance of making an impact in this game.
I think as a general rule, if you're talking about ambitious play and you're deciding between somebody in Kansas City and somebody in Philly, we're defaulting to Kansas City. That's kind of what I'm gathering. I think that makes sense. Yes.
Sorry. What was the question?
As like a general rule, and I don't, general rules and Showdown, you can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. Showdown, it's like, well, what makes the most sense? Now do the opposite. That's what everybody else is going to do. The logical thing. No, like if you're deciding between like two nonsense players, lean into the Kansas City as opposed to Philly because KC's got a more range of outcomes than Philly does.
Exactly. I wouldn't even have Philly on my list. I would just stick with the Kansas City guys. If a random Philly guy, catches a touch and beats me, then that's fine. Because I think that it's much more, EV positive, like to go with a Kansas City cheap guy than it is to go with a Philly cheap guy.
Yeah.
The cheapest Philly guy that would make any type of sense would be Gainwell, and he's in concussion protocol still, I think. Like,
is he not even cleared to play? I didn't know that. We're assuming
he might be cleared. I could be wrong about that. I was thinking like he was questionable, because the concussion still, but I could be wrong.
I mean, it's been a couple weeks, but it's limited practice as of Wednesday for what it's worth. So maybe But he's currently projected in. Who's behind him? Shipley. We saw Shipley in a big game in the playoffs after when they were running the scrubs out there. He almost broke
but
one yards.
That was because Gainwell was out. Like Gainwell, yeah. But he did do well. He got he looked good like in that final drive or whenever he scored that touchdown. He did look good, and he was a guy.
If Gainwell's out, I think. I mean, otherwise he probably doesn't see the field if Gainwell's in.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. They're not going to put him in the Super Bowl in a high leverage spot. I just think that it'll be Gainwell. Shipley, the only way that Shipley would get work, I think he gets kickoff work, kick return work. So he has that aspect to him, I think.
Double dip?
Yeah, the double dip.
Who's the KC guy for the double dip?
The KC guy? I think it's probably I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know off the top of my head, but Watson maybe?
I'm pulling up their depth chart right now. Let's see. Who's the punt returners? Let's see. Special teams. Let's see. I don't think there's anybody. Sometimes Worthy will return punts. Looks like their main kick returner is Nico Remigio.
Nico,
does he dress? Is he somebody? He's got a couple of catches for the season. I don't know much about this guy. I don't think we're playing. Is he projected for anything, Nico? Let's see. He is $200, and he's projected for 0.18 fantasy points. So, highly, highly unlikely he does something. And there's a depth chart. So do you think they would change the depth chart for the Super Bowl because they don't want to get Worthy hurt? But maybe like in the Super Bowl they throw him back there because he's got speed to burn.
No, I think that like in the Super Bowl, I think that they're going to put their best players in as many plays as they can, many leverage situation. Like, so I think Worthy, I don't think they if he was returning kicks or punts, I don't think that they would take him out. They want to have their best guys in there to score,
Sure. Yeah.
So Dean, I'm going to give one last build here. And I'm going to make it an Eagles build. Because I think that Devonta Smith, he's going to be low owned, and that weakness against the slot receivers that we see with Kansas City. I'm going to put Devonta Smith in there.
Devonta, okay, so not captain?
Yeah, no, captain, yeah.
Oh, Captain Devonta. Okay, I saw him in the flex there for a second. Yeah.
I'm going to go with Hurts. I'm going to go with I think I'm going to go with Barkley too, just to see what this does. I want to go with Kelce or Worthy. I probably want to have one of those guys in the majority of my lineups. I'm going to go with Worthy here. If I'm looking for a cheap guy.
Well, if you have Philly ahead, P. Ryan's kind of their receiving back, if we're going to pick one.
That makes sense.
So maybe, and he's cheap. So we throw P. Ryan out there with, you have Worthy, you said? Yeah, I'm looking at, so you got 7-3 left. Is that correct?
Yep. 7-3 left. We can get Hunt.
Do you want Hunt and P. Ryan? I guess you can do that, but it feels a little counterproductive. But again, you can break all the rules if you want.
But actually, I mean, like this puts us in the range for like Hollywood and Goedert. Like Hollywood would make a lot more sense, I think, like to get Hollywood in there. This script seems like the Eagles are playing from ahead. Or the Eagles are doing pretty well. So I think it would make sense to have Hollywood in this build. If we put Hollywood in there, like we don't necessarily need P. Ryan. We can take P. Ryan out and have options like Gray and Smith-Schuster.
You want 3 Kansas City receivers without Mahomes?
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah. So yeah, probably P. Ryan would be the best option there. Just leave salary on the table. We're looking to separate ourselves anyways. So I think that makes some sense.
What's the most you're leaving on the table? What are we willing to leave? 5, 6K? You should be able to expand that just because like, I'm talking like if you're running 150, and I'm talking about, this is not single entry stuff. This is
right.
Large field. You got to be 400,000 people. In theory, if you hit it, you want to bink. Not there's anything wrong with like sharing with 20 of your closest friends. Like, you'll take it.
Yeah.
But the idea, the goal is to build an excellent plus EV lineup that nobody else has amongst the other 400,000.
Yes. Yep.
And good luck. Good luck figuring it out. I think it happened last year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure last year's was a solo ship.
For the Super Bowl?
I think so. I'm talking about I think the Hardman touchdown made it solo for somebody.
Interesting. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
And that's sometimes what you need, like Hardman, like the guy that's like 4 or 5%. That's super cheap. Well, it doesn't have to be super cheap necessarily, but most likely that's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is going to be like, I think P Ryan, and having P Ryan and having 1,900 left seems like something that's going to be different. But like, how much are you willing to leave on the table theoretically?
I'd say like usually it's around like 3 or 4K. Like I don't mind. But I'll be honest with you, man. When I do my optimizer builds, and I'm going through and looking at the lineups that I'm favoriting, like I don't even look at salary. Like I can see a lineup. Oh, that looks like a good lineup. I throw it in there, and then I notice, oh shit, like that's only using $44,000 of the salary. But I don't care if I like the lineup, because we're looking at correlation here. We're not worried about trying to pack as many studs into a lineup, especially doing mass multi-entry. Like I don't care about salary when I'm entering a whole bunch of lineups, just because I think that with Showdown there's not as many combinations as there is with like a regular slate. So the chances are you have all the other good options covered, and then you're just the lineup that you're putting in with 4,000 left on the table or 5,000 left on the table. You already have the better options covered, with the other lineups that you're putting in. You
can't take it with you. You can't take the 4K or 5K with you.
Right.
And again, the further you get away from that cap, especially if we're thinking that there's going to be a fair bit of, I say fringy, Showdown people, or maybe like the DFS people that don't play Showdown that are going to play Showdown.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to be apt to, certainly not for hand building, leave 5K on the table. I think you can make some plus EV, lineups that have 4 or 5K left. I'm scrolling through. Let's see. I'm trying to find some that I made earlier through the sim machine. Let's see. 2,000 left over. Yeah, 2,000 left over. Oh, wow, this one actually has Nico Romingo. I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, these guys are all good. And like, there's Nico.
Don't play that lineup, Dean.
I don't think so. Yeah, he's projected.
Not when there's a $600 Justin Watson,
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's amazing. He's had a couple catches in the season that somehow I missed. I think he had a couple catches. I don't remember when it happened.
Remigio? Week 18.
Oh, is that when it happened? Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right. Are we sure he's even dressing?
Probably not.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like they're not gonna dress a lot of these scrubbier players. Like I mean, that's another thing that you gotta make sure that you're looking out for if you're watching. Like, make sure to check and confirm the inactive. Yeah. Oh, and Dean is a big injury guy, man. I forgot to have you read off the injury report at the beginning of the show. Because Showdown, we love injury reports at the beginning of the show. They used to make fun of you for doing your injury reports. But Dean, like I fucking love injury reports on Showdown, man. So if you want to give your rundown.
It's not even just like injury sometimes, but it's like, oh, well, they're only dressing 2 running backs. Like that kind of stuff is what's alarming. I don't know if we're going to catch anything like that, but like throughout the year, you do catch it sometimes where it's like the fifth receiver or whatever. They're only dressing 5 receivers. They're not dressing the 6th guy. Or on occasion, a team that's them only going to dress 2 running backs. It's like, okay, we got to shuffle some usage to the number 2 guy, that kind of thing. So is there anything we're potentially anticipating? I don't think so.
Kenny Gainwell is the only one that I can think of, but let's go over here. Like I think the injuries are going to be to the Eagles offensive line, and that's where we got Landon Dickerson. He was the substitute center last week because Cam Jurgens was out, but Cam Jurgens wasn't even out. He was just an emergency backup because he was hurt. Dickerson ended up getting hurt in that game, and Jurgens had to come in. And
I was watching. It was a struggle. I was watching that. He was gutting it out. He was doing his best.
So if these guys are both hurt, and then we still got Jalen Hurts, like he hurt his knee a few weeks ago. If he's still feeling the effects of that, and then these guys are hurt on top of it, that's going to be like an interesting situation for that Kansas City defense in this game. So
I'm going to roster some Cam Jurgens. How many points do I get for a pancake? When do we start have the offensive linemen? In the mix, in the flex.
I mean, for Showdown, if they wanted to add some more guys in, What
will be amazing is like that was not a pancake. I can't believe they gave him a pancake for that. There's like a discrepancy. It's on the fringe of a pancake. I don't know. The official score very shaky. But am I wrong in remembering? I feel like I recall, didn't Hurts like warm up with a brace on his knee and then he ditched it? Is that what happened last time? I feel like that's what happened.
I don't know if he ditched it or not, but he was supposed to be wearing a brace.
Yeah, I thought he got rid of it, but I could be remembering incorrectly. But yeah, we were on brace.
No, you're probably right. With the Chiefs, like the injuries that we're looking at are mainly like just the guys in IR that we already know about. McCole Hardman was a recent addition to that. Other than that, I don't see anyone questionable on the defense. So they should be pretty much at full health. There was one guy on the Eagles, going back to the Eagles real quick. That's on Brandon Graham might be making a return. If he might be activated from IR for this game, which would improve their linebacking situation.
I'm seeing Jalen Carter questionable. Are we assuming he's playing?
Yeah, I think I haven't heard anything about Carter, being in flux or anything like that.
I know we're talking DFS.
So,
I'm curious.
yeah.
Do you have like a favorite bet or a favorite player prop that you've kind of hit? Is there something you've leaned into a little bit, or you're still kind of figuring it out? Or at this point, are the lines all sort of correct? They've all been bet to where they should be bet, and it's too late.
Yeah, it was going to be Dallas Goedert receiving yards, but he started off in the 40s, and then he ended up. He's above 50 now, so that's kind of dead. But like I like that prop, but just it's tough. I think I'd probably I like Devonta Smith in this matchup, so I would look at his potential overs. I think that he was only in the 50s for his yardage, which I would like. I think Devonta Smith has a potential to do well in this game. What's Barkley's odds for MVP? Is it any good?
Let me pull it up. Do we have MVP odds in here? No, I'm looking at the scores and odds. I got everything with that, but I think I can pull up my app. I can give you the Hard Rock. It's all I got because I'm in Florida and there's a monopoly here. So that's all we got. Of course, I can figure it out. Shop around. As always, I'm sure you advise people to line shopping is, if there is legitimately like an edge, like one of the best edges you can get, by all means, absolutely line shop, especially for like player props. That's huge. A lot of times, your line's going to be -1.5 or -1. They're all kind of uniform. minus 110, depending on. But without question, one of the most important things you got to do is shop for your lines. Let's see. I'm just trying to buy some time to get MVP up.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think, you're definitely right. As far as, shopping around for lines, you want to make sure that, there's just so many different options when you're betting these days, and shopping for lines too. Like, if you don't have accounts at a bunch of different places, you could end up in a situation where you're able to get, like a nice, like bonus, like deposit bonus on your first deposit on some of these, like Underdog. I'm doing a promotion with Underdog. If you use the promo code SEEK, SEEK, they're going to match you up to $1,000 on your first deposit, like a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. So that's a good one to take advantage of. Underdog has, like more player friendly contests and stuff like that. You can use, more of a pick'em situation where you can go more or less on a higher or lower on yardage totals and stuff like that. But they also have cool, like snake drafts and stuff like that you can do too. You're not just, stuck with, if you're not really into parlays and stuff like that, you have different options on Underdog, which I like.
Take advantage of every one you can get. I was on vacation in Colorado, and Colorado is one of the best states for sports betting. Mm-hmm. They have like 7 or 8 or 9 books, and just sign up for everything. I know it's going to be a little bit overwhelming, but you're never going to get a better edge than the sign-up bonuses like you're talking about. Like I hear, so I see people on Twitter or like whatever, like something didn't go their way, their player got injured, and they'll tweet at FanDuel, they'll tweet out DraftKings and say, "Screw you, DraftKings! This is BS. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Pat Mahomes got hurt in the first quarter. You'll pay me my money, but I had the over." And of course, everybody who does this bets the over. Nobody knows you can bet the under too. Nobody knows this. Like, wait a second, you can bet the under? What? Because that's not fun. We're rooting for nothing. And they always finish it with like, FanDuel, if you don't make this right, I'm going to go to DraftKings.
Yeah,
it's like, dude, you're telling on yourself. You should be cheating on all of them. Yeah. They threaten them and like, I'm not going to go with you anymore. I thought we were going steady. And it's like, no, you should be playing the field, play everywhere. So it always drives me nuts, but it always makes me laugh. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna go to DraftKings. I'll show you. It's like, you should be already there. Like, get the best line. Shop around. There's my soapbox. You've seen this before, right? You've seen these people, right? You've seen these tweets.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see it all the time. It's like you said, man. Like when I do my Underdog videos where I do a pick'em, like
the
ones that always hit are the ones where I go like under on something, like those ones rarely miss. But like for whatever reason, it's like it's so hard to pull the trigger on those unders, man. Like or those lowers, it's a tough thing to do, but it is the definitely like they're pricing it with the expectation that most people like to go over on these things or higher on these things. So keep that in mind when you're doing these, for sure. Yeah.
I also like laddering stuff. So like I like the overs too sometimes, especially for, and I was talking about like best bets. Like, what's more fun? There's nothing more fun than having the ladder, and your dude breaks off like a 70-yard touchdown, right? Like the ladder for receiving yards, and you hit everything along the way. Like, you can't just assume that's going to happen. That doesn't happen often, but when it does, you're getting like, you're sweeping the board. So it doesn't have to happen, 50% of the time or even 40% of the time. But it's just, I get a kick out of those people that do that. And Underdog, they're still doing the, if you get hurt in the first half, you get refunded. I think I did that in basketball, if not mistaken. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I did it in football.
Yeah, I got the bailout from that a couple weeks ago. If all the other legs, I think all the other like legs have to hit or
they knock it down a leg.
Yeah, exactly. And then they knock it down a leg. So yeah, you could still make money if you had like I usually do 5 picks. if you had 4 of them right and the fifth guy got injured in the first half, then you'd be safe basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, it's just a bad and like, it's not Underdog's fault or FanDuel's fault if players get injured. It's just but it's a bad user experience. So
yes.
It's, it's not fun for the person out there. If this person didn't get hurt. Yeah.
I think like Sleeper has like, or one of these sites has vulture protection on top of it too. So they got
I think Underdog is a vulture. I don't know. I never clicked on vulture. Yeah. I don't know what that means. Like, how do we define? I mean, I understand that we use vulture as like, okay, he was supposed to score. My guy, he got vulture at the 1 yard line.
Right.
Is a vulture protection for Saquon Barkley that like the tush push happens? Because that's not even like a vulture.
No,
how do we define vulture?
Yeah, with Barkley, it would be like, they get the ball to the 1 yard line, and probably Gainwell comes in and scores a touchdown. I think the backup just basically has to score a touchdown in a like situation where they're in the red zone. Maybe if I was Underdog, it'd probably be probably like the red zone or like within 5 yards or something like that. Maybe.
I'm assuming you got to pay for that though. I assume you have to pay like a certain percent of your. I don't know. I've been curious.
Yeah, I don't think you do.
I've never been curious enough to see what it actually means.
Yeah, because you don't have to pay for the the first half injury stuff. Like they just do it, like, so I don't think it's
on your winnings.
I don't think it's something that you have to pay extra.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, if you want to pay for insurance on Underdog, you can do that where you make 5 picks and then you get the insurance. And then if one of those picks doesn't hit, then you get like just a lesser payout. But like if your 5 picks do hit, you get a much lesser payout than you would if if they hit without the insurance,
So like I've never gone through it and seen like if the math works out, like if you should get the insurance or shouldn't. But I just know as like a general rule when you go in the casino and they offer you like insurance, whenever the casino is offering you something as a general rule, like you want this, you generally don't want it. The blackjack, I don't want insurance. I know, I see you have an ace. I don't want insurance. If you don't want insurance, my 7, I don't want to, if I lose, I lose. There's vulture protection. I see, but I've always seen it. And I'm like, what does that even mean?
All right, let's find out right now, Dean. If you select a player from the designated RB list to score a rushing touchdown or rushing and receiving touchdown in your entry, you will receive vulture protection. If your selected player gets vultured, your entry will be rescued and you'll be given a promo that will appear in the lobby the next day if that was the only losing selection. So, like, what is the definition of vulture, though?
Yeah. Did we pass the part where they told us what that means? What does it mean? I know how people use it, but how are they defining it? Because it's a loose definition.
Trying to find that out, man. I don't see any. Oh, rush touchdown must be from the opposing 10-yard line or close. So it's 10 yards. I was saying 5 would be good, but they got it at 10. That's even better.
But again, I'm saying it says eligible players, Saquon Barkley. Okay.
Right.
Now, let's say I have Barkley to score a touchdown. If a tush push happens and Hurts scores, is that a vulture? Or does it have to be on a running back?
I don't think so. I think it has to be a running back.
Okay. I just wanted more information, but I think it's a fun idea.
Right.
But if the math checks out and all that, but I've never explored this, but I've always thought it was like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, it says touchdown scored by a player who is not a designated RB. A rush touchdown scored by a player who is not a designated RB. So I guess it's whoever, anyone who scores a rushing touchdown when they're in the 10 yards or closer.
So then why wouldn't I bet on Barkley to score a touchdown and then I'm protected? If again, not knowing all the little details, if that's that, they're probably going to score at least 1 rush touchdown. If it's not Barkley, it's going to be Hurts.
But look at how bad his return is. It's 0.67x. Yeah. So it's basically like so minuscule that it's not even worth betting on him.
Yeah.
It's almost like guaranteeing that he's going to score a touchdown.
On the season, he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games where he did not score a touchdown, for what it's worth, on the ground. So like half the time he's not gotten in.
Dean, why we're over here?
Yeah,
why we're over here? Let's put together like something that's going to win us 70 times our money. What do you think of that?
I've never done the 7. I'm so boring with. I've had some good. I got a W2 from Underdog. Shout out to me.
Nice.
I've had some good results on Underdog, but I don't mess with like the 70x stuff, and maybe I should. I don't know, but talk me through it. Let's figure one out, because I don't. What do I have to do? How many do I have to get right?
So step one, Dean, if you don't have an account already, you're going to want to open up an account and make your first deposit. Use the promo code SEEK, SEEK. They're going to give you a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Free money. You got to get all the free money that you can. Take advantage of all these promos, like Dean was saying with those casino promos earlier. But same thing with Underdog. You want to take advantage of the promo. They got best ball already started. You can already draft teams for the 2025 season. So first thing that I do, I've done some research on this, and the best way to do this is to make 5 picks. That's the most EV positive way to do this. Just with the multipliers that you get with choosing 5 guys, it just the math adds up so that it's the best way to go if you're going to do a pick 'em. It's better than 4. I think 3 might be another one, the next best one, but like I think 5 is the way to go. So if we're going 5, we talked about Patrick Mahomes. He hasn't thrown more than 2 touchdowns against Philly. I mean against Fangio. But this is at 1.5. I think he could score 2 touchdowns. We saw several games where he scored 2 touchdowns against them. Let's try to find a few easy props first here, Dean. Saquon Barkley, do you like him going higher or lower than 115 yards? 115 yards to me. That's a lot, man. I almost like I think that's an easy lower. What do you think of that?
Do you mind if I pull up my little cheat code here?
Go for it.
RG has something specifically just for Underdog. They for prize picks, sleeper, splash. Because some of those lines are different depending on. This is what I'm talking about with line shopping. Barkley is 115.5. You can get it at 114 probably someplace else, and 116.5 somewhere. Again, and then it feels like it doesn't make a difference, but many times, it absolutely matters.
Many times I've lost by 1 yard on these things.
Okay, so the best bet right now, currently for Underdog specific, is Pacheco under 6.5 rushing attempts. That's the first one I see. Is that where it's still at? Assuming it's the time is right.
Yep, 6.5. So let's go lower there.
It's supposed to win according to the tool 68% of the time.
Okay.
68% of the time, it works every time. We're taking Pacheco under. And it's so weird. I can't believe it. What if I would have told you the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl big game, and Pacheco is less likely to rush for 7 attempts?
Right.
That's so weird, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But that's I guess that's where we're at.
So one thing that I like to do, when I'm doing these, is I like to look at the quarterbacks. Sometimes you can get some sneaky stuff with the quarterbacks, like like low rushing totals and stuff like that. So let's see what Patrick Mahomes is at 31.5. That's pretty high. What's his rushing attempts at? 6.5 rushing attempts. I think that's probably in line. So I don't really like it with Mahomes. If there was like a Stafford or something on there, or like a bad example, but like a quarterback that like he runs a decent amount, but maybe not the strongest running quarterback, and he has like a 15-yard line, then a lot of times that'll be a good one to hit the over on. Let's see. Let's go to P. Ryan. Let's go to P.
By the
Ryan.
way, just you asked about Barkley. And according to this tool again, 60% of the time, under is the bet, under 115.5, like we were talking about. So again, we're not supposed to bet unders. This isn't fun at all. What are we doing?
Yeah.
But that if you want to plug that in, if you want to go, I think that was both our inclination, and Barkley is amazing. He's best running back in the league, arguably. But we're going to bet lower than 115.
Here's an interesting one, Dean. I'm seeing Samaje Perine at 7.5 receiving yards. I think he can go higher than that. What do you think there?
Okay. I don't mind that. Yeah. Okay. I have no issues with that.
Okay.
Now, are we going to try to tell a story with this? Because I know that it hits you sometimes a correlation.
Yeah.
Are we doing a little correlation story here?
So we do have a little correlation here because Pacheco, you got to figure, Pacheco would be the running back if they were in a situation where, they're likely, running the ball, the tough running more than, maybe the satellite back. So we got lower on Pacheco's rushing attempts. That makes sense with Samaje Perine going higher on his receiving yards. I think that's some good correlation. I think on the other side, Saquon Barkley going lower, it's just a high number, it's just a high number. And I think that he could still get a ton of rushing attempts, to justify, this storyline here, but still go under that yardage total because he's running into walls. They're killing time. So I think that does make sense.
Question. Bucker over 1.5 field goals made.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Well, let me ask you this. Do we click that or over 7.5 kicking points? Now, are kicking points 3, 3, 3, 3, no matter where it's coming from? Or is it like fantasy where like a 50-yarder is worth 5? Do we know this?
I think it's worth whatever the whatever the field goal. So 3 points for a field goal, 1 point for an extra point.
Well, wait, no, I don't think so because 7.5 kicking points is the same. Well, yeah, 7.5. Then why would I click on 7.5 kicking points if it's 3 and 3, which is 6, which is less than 6, 7.5? If that gets me home on over 1.5, although it's slightly a hit, it's 0.82 for what it's worth. But which one are we clicking? Oh, over 2 field goals or 2 field goals or more?
So here we got 1.5 field goals is the line. I don't know that I'm comfortable with 3 field goals, but
no.
If we go higher on 3, I'll show you afterwards after we get all our picks in.
It'll change the multiplier pretty big time.
Yeah.
Is that what you're getting at?
Significant. It'll be significant. Yeah. So we got 4 guys in right now. I'm trying to think of who else. I like Devonta Smith. Let's look at Devonta Smith's yardage. What does your thing say about Devonta Smith's receiving yards? Because 50 seems low to me.
Let's see. What is his current? Well, let's see. I can get the actual projection and the percent time it's going to hit. Let's try with the projection. Devonta Smith, you're talking about receiving yards, 54.64. It's probably like about right? What's the number?
50.
50 and change?
50 and
a slight lean on the over.
Change 50. Let's go. You know what? Let's go with 59. 59.5.
Oh boy.
Because that's going to help us out with our multiplier.
Okay. I'm copying this, by the way, just so you know. I'm making this myself. So you changed the 59.5, is that correct?
Yep, 59.5.
Oh boy.
Okay, so now this, my friend, is where we get the multiplier. That's going to help us.
Is that what we're doing?
Yes. Yeah, we got to find a random guy that's going to get an anytime touchdown that has a big shot to do it. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is one option that we could try here. If we put him in, so he had 38 snaps last week. He was part of a couple big plays. We know that it's going to be one of these Chiefs guys that has a good chance of scoring a touchdown. One of these random Chiefs guys. So if we put him in, let's just see what it does for us. That's going to take us to 131 times our money.
It's going to take us right back to 0.
Is that it? Oh, we got 6 guys in there. That's why I was like, how the hell did we get to that?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we got 5 right now, which we can get
right,
20.
so let's take out Barkley,
Okay.
and that takes us to 70. So that gets
So
us to 70 right there.
can we not do 6? Is 6 not allowed?
We can.
You're not
If we
recommending.
like that Barkley under, but like if we don't want to, like to put to put that many more like legs that we have to get, then I think it makes sense to take Barkley out. But like if you wanted to put Barkley in, if you agree with us and you think that is lower than 115.5, go lower on it. You get 131 times your money.
Where's touchdown for Juju? I see first quarter touchdown, which seems absurd.
Yeah.
Is there one for? Is that what you're picking? First quarter touchdown or no? Just touchdown?
I'm just picking 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. Period.
Where's that? What's the number? Why can't I find this?
3.62. It should be.
Oh man, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
all we're getting at?
Even I need to boost us to 131 times our money, Dean.
I know. What's that times 0?
But hey, now Dean, I'm gonna do you one better on this, right?
Yeah.
Underdog is running a promotion right now.
Okay.
Where you have a big game, no sweat promo. You can bet $5 on this and have no sweat with it. You get your money back in bonus cash or whatever. So let's apply. I'm gonna apply this. I'm gonna bet $5 on whatever we end up on. And it's going to be a no sweat bet. Gonna get your money back in underdog cash or whatever they give you.
Should I lay up and do the flex? I generally just do the standard. I don't mess around with the flex, but should I give us some wiggle room here? If what are you clicking? Are you clicking flex or are you clicking standard 70x?
I'm gonna go with standard.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm such a nit. I don't want to bet.
Oh, but you know what? Like with the no sweat bet, it looks like they kind of force you into flex.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Which makes sense, like they don't want to have that much liability. Like if one of these 131s hits for a bunch of people.
It's giving me the option, but I wonder, like it's giving me the flex, and like I wonder, does the number change? Because obviously, if the Juju one doesn't hit, that's the one that's least likely. That's not supposed to hit. Like,
Right. Yeah.
If I hit the other 4, am I still going to get 35x?
If you hit,
that's if you sweep them. I see. You got to sweep them. Okay, I understand.
Yeah, you get 11x if you hit the other ones.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, we're doing standard. I'm going to bet. Let's put $30 on it. $30 to win 2,100 for funsies.
All right, there we go. I'm gonna do my my $5.
We hit our NBA underdog play tonight, so
nice.
It's a positive night either way.
There we go.
2 overs, by the way. 2 overs.
2 overs. How many unders did you have?
I bet a twosome. I bet a twosome for
gotcha.
For NBA. I picked 2 overs and they both got there.
So one of my videos, I've used this strategy pretty much on for the most part to hit these like 50 plus times your money. I hit one of them in the San Francisco game with Ricky Pearsall. I had him as my anytime touchdown guy, and he hit the touchdown in the first quarter. Our first drive of the game, actually, I think it was. So the hardest leg of the pick'em hit right away. So when that happens,
you can hedge live. Is that what you're thinking?
What's that?
I'm just thinking you could hedge live, like where you're basically you can't lose either way if you bet the other side of your other bets. If you can get some live bets on the other side, you know what I'm saying, or no?
Oh, well, I didn't do that. Like when it happened, like the other legs of my bet, like I felt that they were just so easy. Like I went with I usually try to find the easiest ones, and a lot of times you'll see my picks, like I hit 4 and I missed 5, missed the 5th one, and the 5th one that I miss is usually the anytime touchdown, because those are hard to get when you're trying to get that random guy that's going to juice up your money. But there's always like a thought process behind that, behind the touchdown guy. because it's usually going to be, okay, here's a weak spot on the defense. I'm going to go, they're very weak against, tight ends. I'm going to go back up tight end here who gets a decent amount of, like snap share or whatever, it's usually like that kind of thought process. Or sometimes you'll get the, the tight end who is, like he doesn't get, he doesn't have as much name value as a lot of these tight ends, and for whatever reason, he'll have a 3x if he scores a touchdown, even though he's a starting tight end. Like stuff like that in good matchups, you can find a lot that can help you juice up your pick 'em to that, like 50 plus range, Oh, you're on mute again, Dean.
I'm just now noticing that Noah Gray was a better number than Juju Smith-Schuster.
Oh no! Are you serious?
He's almost 4x. He's almost 4x, and Juju. I'm going to run it back the same thing with Gray just in case.
Yeah, that's a good idea, man.
Piss away some more money. Why not?
While I'm here, Dean, I might as well show you my my best ball lineups I got going.
Oh, what do we?
My best one is in DraftKings. This was from the divisional round, and I got Patrick Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Devonta Smith, Jalen Hurts, Joe Mixon, Kareem Hunt, and Dallas Goedert. Like,
wait, you have both.
Can you get more stacked than that for a freaking best ball lineup?
I didn't play this. Wait, could a quarterback be in the flex or no?
No. It's got to be a yeah.
That's unfortunate. You have both quarterbacks. Is that team in striking distance? It feels like you have a.
Oh yeah.
You could possibly have like the 6 best scorers in the game.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, but it's not.
Are you blocked? Or have you kind of gone through it?
No, I haven't even gone through it. I don't even want to look at the rest of the pool just because I feel so good about this potential of this lineup that I feel like I'd be jinxing myself if I went through it, but I mean, how do you get more than that? I'm only missing 2 spots,
It's pretty good.
So yeah, and that is in the DraftKings. I think it was like the 20 entry max, like $3 contest, but it's for what was the price? The thing with these DraftKings, the way that they have this stuff set up is I have no idea, what the payout structure is. The damn payout structure. It's like how the hell am I supposed to, figure this out? It's the 150 play action, round 3, 20 entry max. But they have nowhere where I can see what the payout structure is. It's so stupid. And this is where, like DraftKings falls behind, companies like Underdog who think these things through, It's just like, give me the payout structure. I want to know how much I'm playing for here.
There's probably it's probably hidden. Maybe are you on the desktop? You're not on the app, right? Maybe the app would be a little better for that. I don't know.
I was originally trying to find it on the app, and I couldn't find it anywhere on the app. So I was hoping that I'd be able to find it on the desktop, since I can't find it on the damn app. And no, it doesn't give me any information, man. It's so frustrating. I have no idea, what my potential like winning is.
Well, you just gotta wait until the game, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. I think, oh, cool, man. I got an awesome lineup going into the Super Bowl, but I have no freaking clue how much money I can win. It's annoying.
Yeah. It's not a great like live sweat experience.
Yeah, exactly. But I will tell you. Go ahead.
Well, when DraftKings puts all my currently winning, when I have like basketball going on and football going on and like best ball, and they put it all in one pool, and it's like, well, I'm currently winning. It just jumped up 10,000 because all of a sudden a guy made a catch, and now I'm moving on in best ball, and it jumps down 10,000 if that somebody else passes. There's a better way to do that. Like they can separate those. These are like small world problems, but it's it is kind of annoying for like the live spot experience. So I'm not really up $10,000 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right.
But,
yeah. All right, Dean. Well, thanks for jumping on with me, man. Dean, tell them where they can find your content this week. You doing any Super Bowl stuff?
No, about doing nothing content wise during the season, of course. At RotoGrinders doing Sunday morning, but this is that's long gone. On Wednesday nights we do the Pick Six show with Daigle and Rebar, but again that's on ice until next season. Hopefully we'll fire that back up again. But now I'm in the NBA streets really hardcore these days. Every single day, grinding NBA stuff, which is it's a trade deadline tomorrow. There's a lot of chaos going on, and I'm not sure if you ever delved into the NBA, but you got to be fully in. Otherwise, don't go in because it is a lot of parts, a lot of spinning plates. But yeah, find me talking some NBA 5 o'clock on the East Coast every single day, and then soon enough, 55 days, baseball season. We need more sports because the NFL is winding down. It never stops. So baseball's firing up soon. So do catch me over at RotoGrinders, rotogrinders.com. Lots of basketball content, lots of baseball content. And if some of the tools that I referenced, feel free to check those out at RG as well. But this is fun. I'm glad I got a head start. Typically, as a typical DFS player, I was not going to look at this really seriously until Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, day of, because we care about today and today only in the DFS world. But you got me inspired to get a head start. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Yeah, especially if you're gonna enter multi lineups, make sure to just start building up your game scripts in the lineup builder now. And that way you can start favoriting, some of the lineups that you like how they're shaping up and stuff. And you're not scrambling to do it on that final day, which a lot of us DFS players were doing it an hour before lock, like when we're trying to figure that stuff out. The beauty of the Super Bowl is we know for the most part, the injury situation doesn't look like we're going to get, a lot of, injuries on the offense. Also check out that show I did yesterday with Neil. When he jumped on, we went in depth in every player in the player pool. He got his thoughts on it as a GPP player, who mass multi enters every, basically for the most part, like most slates. So, really good insight from Neil, and we kind of covered all the bases in that one too, but I think you can get some good insight in that one. So make sure to check that one out in the feed. And Dean, good having you on as usual. And make sure to check Dean out on RotoGrinders, Grinders Live. By the way, baseball for RotoGrinders last year, they were the best spot to go for your baseball information. Bob Gomes was firing on all cylinders last year, right, Dean?
I work with Bobby a fair bit. He's on the show with me fairly often. And look, there's a lot of sharp people out there. The combination, the 1-2 combination in the lineup, if you will, of Dave Potts, Cheese is Good, and Derek Carty is just like analysis. I don't know who would beat that. I think maybe I'm a homer, maybe I'm biased, whatever. Dave Potts writes he writes an article 5 days a week that makes baseball fun. He has fun with baseball, which it's tough for some people to think of baseball as fun. I get it, and it's a huge grind, and he busts his ass. And Cardi's projection system, and that's not even to say with like the other analysts doing all sorts of content like Bobby, and others for baseball. But I think the baseball team is really, really strong, especially led up top by Cheese and Cardi. So. Check us out for baseball for sure. And it's one of those things, you know how it is. You hate the sport. No, I shouldn't say hate, but you don't love the sport that's like in season, but you're always like, man, baseball. Oh, it's only 50 days away. I cannot wait for baseball. And month 5 of the 6-month grind, like I have had it with when does basketball start? When? I cannot wait to get done with baseball. That's just how that goes. But right now, baseball sounds amazing. I cannot wait to do baseball content.
Yeah, and Cheese wins these things effortlessly. He was when I was working there, it seemed like every month, like Chiefs was shipping 100K in one Roto Grinders party, and it was like a Super Bowl, and we did a thing where everybody just played a lineup. Cheese is really good at football too. Like he just doesn't play it as much because he doesn't analyze it as much because he likes to just enjoy football.
Yeah,
like,
he loves his Browns, and
yeah.
he's good. You'll see him in the hockey streets, and you'll see him in like I don't know if he still is, but he was in the League of Legends streets. Like he's just really good. He's really good, and the nicest, most unassuming. You'd never know that's the guy that won a couple $1,000,000.
Yeah,
just humble and just a great all around dude. Big fan of Dave. Cheese. Looking forward.
I remember
at
that party when we were doing those showdown lineups for the Super Bowl, like he just effortlessly like entered it, like casually enters it, and then he shipped it. Like he just always like he always wins these damn contests, man. And like I always would see him winning 100K here, 100K there. But like Dean said, like he's like most normal, like unassuming guy, like that you can run into. He never lets anything get to his head, and he's just a good dude.
Yeah, cannot say enough nice things about Dave for sure.
Yeah,
but it's about 50 days or so. I'm not that I'm counting, but I think pitchers and catchers, two of the sexiest words for baseball players, I suppose. Pitchers and catchers reporting in probably like 15 or 20 days or so, give or take, maybe less. But looking forward to that. But we have one more football game. It's LIX, right? Isn't that what the Super Bowl is? LIX?
LIX,
is that
dude. I saw that. Like I was like, why am I not hearing like LIX more with this Super Bowl?
Kiss should be sponsoring it or something. I don't know. That's where my brain went. The logo, but Rolling Stone, I guess, or the Rolling Stones thing. There's probably a better demographic to tap into, but you think of the Rolling Stones logo. Maybe that's just me. But we're not George Costanza. We're supposed to leave on a high note, and maybe we should have left 2 minutes ago.
You just ruined it, dude.
That's on me. My bad. The
awesome.
Jerk Store called.
All right, well, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out Dean on Grinders Live as always, and I should have Bob Gomes on my next one, so I'm going to try to get one out here with Bob Gomes to wrap up my Super Bowl content. But make sure to check that out. Check out the one with Neil, and I will see you guys later.